yeah. You take a bow. All right. So this is Chaplain Dean Alley. Hope you're okay. Hope your Saturday's going well. I just had the privilege to attend our oldest granddaughter's basketball game, and they won. And it was great seeing the young girls out there playing and going out and supporting them and just seeing them and just thinking of kind of nostalgia, like take you back to your days when you were out there. But anyways, it was a great time. Had a really good time. Everybody was there. All but I think Gregory and Baby Laney weren't there, but maybe next time. I guess the whistle scares her. Anyways, so let's just talk about a couple things that are going on here. And I pushed this live out of the studio here. You know, nothing big or anything like that, but I've been I have so. I've got a lot of literature I have written. I don't know, over the years that, let me see if I can find a thing here. Over the years in leadership, and most people know that I have been going to school for a long time. So I want to share my screen, if I may, and just show you a couple things. All right. Okay. So you can see this number right here. Yes, that's true. That's 141 million words. Let me rephrase that. That's 141 million words of writing for your PhD to be a doctor. And you can see I started using Grammarly, and let me tell you the story behind that. I started using Grammarly because the first paper I turned in was horrendously horrible with punctuation. I didn't pay attention when I was in school. I should have done a better job in English, and I kind of regret that. But especially when I did my first paper, and the teacher said, you know, there's some software help with your punctuation and stuff, and I happened to find Grammarly. So you saw the numbers, over 100 some odd, 140 million or something like that. So I've written a lot of papers since 2020. I started school in 2019. Really, 2019 is the time frame that I originally started. You could tell that Grammarly came on in February. I was kind of getting thumped and lumped up over my grades. Just in fact, I mean, it's not that the content was there. I just didn't pay attention enough to do the all the grammar that goes in behind it, and I was struggling. That was on my bachelor in theology, but it only got exacerbated and more expected as you went up. And once you got into your master levels, there's no excuse. You're going to turn in a decent paper. It was going to impact you greatly. So all of that practice helped me with a lot of writing, and I have a lot of writing in paper and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not going to try to share anything that I turned into the school owns, but I will take some of those thoughts and put them into something else and change it up a little bit. So to make that point, so if you remember, I don't know, maybe you don't, but I talked about my dissertation. And let me just talk about that for a second. It took 4 months to get the thesis approved through the famed, in my opinion, Dr. Leighton Flowers out of Texas Baptist Institute. And if anybody has ever watched any type of apologetics or anything, I want to say that he is right up there. So Soteriology 101, I highly recommend it. He's got some great stuff in there that kind of gives you some further understanding, and but when they gave him to me as my chair, I got to be honest, I was a little afraid. I mean, I was a little intimidated. Leighton Flowers, right? It took 4 months to get him to accept the thesis that I wrote, and it was not an easy process. I know a lot of folks that go for their PhD minimum a year. It took me probably close to a year and a half. A year and a half to write my dissertation, formalize it, and give a defense. And you want to talk about intimidated? So it's bad enough I've got Dr. Leighton Flowers. Guess who sits in on on the board is the vice president of the entire school, Dr. Jonathan Pritchett. You want to talk about intimidated? I was intimidated. And I would say this to people that are going through it. A couple things. First, I would never do it again. Number two, only because it was a lot of work. I would never do it again because it was a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of 2 a.m. writings. And if you look behind me, all these books that I had to get. You see me that close up. But, the books. The books. I didn't count on the books. I did not count on what the books would cost. I just didn't, I didn't factor that in. See me a little bit. So I didn't factor that in. That's a huge cost, especially if you're going for your doctorate. It's expected. You got to pay. You're going to have. I mean, you get what you put into most things in life, and if you're going to pour into a dissertation that's going to eat up your life, where you have no free time, you're going to get to a point where you're going to make sure you have the right stuff to do the right job. And I know books were something that I did, and you can't see all the books, but there's a lot. And I would say that so number one, the time. Number two, I'm telling you right now that a parent with children that are actively with children or in the environment with children that are going to these different things and events, you will not be able to do it effectively. Very, very, very difficult. My hat's off to folks that can. There's people out there smarter than me and more organized. I am a processor. It takes me time to put things in my head and figure it out. And so my dissertation was so I had Christian leadership versus secular leadership. What's the dichotomy biblically? Now that paper is separate from this. This is not. There's a couple. I used some reference points from it, and I used very little information out of it. So I had what I would call the bones. I had 150 pages of that dissertation. And I will say this. I mean, I know the first 6 months was just research. PhD is all about research. By the way, you do not skim by a PhD. You don't. You do not. You are going to do due diligence, or you're going to take you 10 years to get your PhD. So I say that. So time to do it is you have, and you know, I'm kind of empty nester with my wife. And one thing I learned, my wife suffered as a seminary widow. I didn't realize it. You know why? Because I was looking at it from a selfish standpoint. I looking at it from myself of wanting to achieve something, you know, and it soaked up all my time. And she became what I call a seminary widow, where she simply, I wasn't around. I was absent for that year and a half, maybe even longer. I don't know, but that struck me when she told me that, and I didn't think about the family cost. So if that's my wife and me, how about your kids or your extra things that you have going on? So anyways, so the reason I'm doing this quick little video is just to tell you, you will be completely underwhelmed with this book. This book is nothing. So, okay, let me go back to the PhD part. See how my mind goes? So the time, the books were the factors in the PhD part, and I probably would never do it again. I'll be straight up with you. I would not do it again. It's just too much. I mean, it really wears on you because you're doing a lot of work and study, and you want to do the right thing. And anybody that's in any form of ministry, form of anything in the vein of serving God, you want to do the due diligence. And my research, it might say Christian management and leadership, but let me explain. I had to study all these secular leadership books as well, and I had been studying those books probably for 20, 25 years. You know, the latest, greatest leadership book came out. I remember the big one that I went through, and I still quote through, is Norman Vincent Peale. Not a clear-cut Christian, by the way, but sold a lot of books. Now his son's selling some, and what's the Highly Effective Habits or something like that, or 7. Well, his son's got one now. They revised it, and he's just, you know, working off of that. So anyways, all this to say, I have a lot of data, I have a lot of files, I have a lot of papers I have written, and I will probably put up some more books in the future. This is another learning going through publishing and all that, and uh, how difficult that is, and how difficult in format. It's just a lot of work. Anyways, but you got to be committed. That's what I'm saying. But let me say this: if you want to do it, you can. You just have to determine how much you're going to put into it. So anyways, so I've got this book. It's coming out. The Kindle version will be out on the 24th. Again, you'll be underwhelmed. I basically broke down some of the tenets of the work that I did. But anyways, so basically, I wanted you to see, but I won't spoil the book for you. But again, Dean Alley wrote it, so you'll be underwhelmed. It's a book. I didn't know what I was going to write about, my topics and stuff. And my wife is the one that gave me the idea on what the dissertation topic was, because there's a billion topics to choose when you're doing your PhD, and you got to have it accepted. You can't go, okay, I'm going to do basket weaving 101. I'm going to tell you where to start with basket weaving and all that. But so, anyways, my wife really gave me some insight over a difficult situation I had when I was a leader, and I didn't feel good about it. And I was a secular leader. But there's a difference in the two. Now, people will say, hey, there's some great Christian leadership out there. Absolutely, please. I'm not calling out anybody, and I'm certainly not pointing fingers at anybody. There's great leadership, both Christian and secular. I'm pointing out from my perspective and my research for myself on why I couldn't be a secular leader today. I get, and this is, trust me, I'm a humble guy, but I do get job offers every one or two a week. I don't have any desire. The money is not a motivator. Now you say, well, okay, all right, Chaplain, you got a book out here. It's $4.99. Let me explain royalties. So the royalties can be steep too, but all of the money that does come in on this book will not come to me. It will go to Dean Alley Ministry nonprofit, and will go to many people that we are helping. We are helping from prayer to devotions to just Bible studies to live events to counseling to many, 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 many different things. And I have to put that in compartments because, as you know, I have a full-time job that means a lot to me, and I have a bunch of folks. A lot of this stuff is, scheduling's done automatic through Calendly. I don't have to worry about it. People just go there and make an appointment. I just put availability, and then when I'm off work or whatever, or it's a weekend, I do a lot of my recordings, and or in the evenings I do them, and I try to do those as well and be a blessing to people. And so it's not about, hey, look at him, now he's a writer, he's an author, whatever. I don't care. It's not a title I care. I've got 15 acronyms behind my name. It does mean nothing to me. I've got a whole wall of love me stuff. It was a personal gain, and I worked hard for it, and I could not have done it without the grace of God, just so you know. And I give him all the credit, because I wrote things that I'd get done writing, and I would read it and say, who wrote this? Because I didn't write it. That's how dialed in I was with the Lord, and how he helped me through many of the stuff that I did. So you're going to see some introductions. I'm going to talk about, there's 4 parts to it. There'll be, I think I broke it out into 9. I put 9 chapters. Then I gave you I'm just giving you an overview, a continent outline, a little introduction. Then I'm going to talk about foundational stuff like that. And I'm not really going to this is not a book that's going to put you to sleep as far as, well, you may go to sleep. You may. But I try to make it hit the high points and the points that really matter and where you need to focus on. I'm talking about integration and all that stuff, and and just explain certain things in the way of leadership, definition, historic. I didn't really spend whole lot of time in my comparison of this. Now, I will say this. I think this is like 40, this is 59 pages. Okay, not a big deal. It should be pretty easy to get through that. And just so you know, the future, I've got a paperback I'm working on, but the format is unbelievable. Not to mention the costs are a little bit more on a paperback. And for me to put this in a hardback, it's a minimum requirement. I think you've got to have either 75 or 100 pages, something like that. You got to have. I tried to not make this thing, a dictionary. I tried not to, but I wanted to have something that you could look at from maybe a perspective that might be a blessing to you, and might help you in some form or fashion or another. And if you do purchase it, thank you. Again, you'll be underwhelmed. I do not know the final format. I know how I presented everything and previewed it, but I'm not sure how it's when it comes out on the 24th. I can see exactly if it's in line with what I was doing or anything that's out of line that I can address. So, anyways, that is not yeah. So just so you know, that's coming out. All of the proceeds, just like everything in this ministry, we give it back and give it away. And if you can see on the wall right here, back of the door, those are, because this is a business, this is a nonprofit 501c, I have to adhere to all the state requirements just like anybody else. If you were running a gas station or you were running a factory or you were running a restaurant, you've got to have certain things posted, and here in my office, I posted that because we are registered not only with the IRS but registered in the state, and we've got accountants and advisors and stuff like that help and work on this ministry. But all of the work, content, and everything that kind of comes in, a lot of it's whatever God lays on my heart, and then I just try to be a blessing on all of what's laid on my heart and try to go through the Bible and provide you to exegete or just pull the information, just pulling the information and trying to help out for people that may be a little distracted with the Bible, maybe find it a little hard. Trust me when I tell you, I take questions from all over the world: Africa, India, Pakistani, Bangladesh. I do devotions. I've been invited to come preach at certain churches out there and things, and those are things that, those are God's direction, not mine. My direction right now is just do the best I can and do God and do the work for God. Glorify Him. I mean, ask my wife. She's known me almost 37 years. I am definitely just trying to serve the Lord. I wish I could do more. Now, from a health standpoint, people have been asking. I was getting better. I've had a couple bad days. A couple of very bad days. I do not know what's going on with me. I'm praying that God helps me with that. But I am having a difficulty with dizziness and sometimes thinking, start thinking things or your mind wanders or something like that. Or then you're like, I can't, you try to think of something and I know some of that's old age, right? But I'm just talking the physical aspect of how bad this has been, and I pray God that we get to a resolve on this. And I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate the prayers from everybody, and the texts, the emails, all of the folks. I certainly appreciate the well wishes. I really do. So anyway, so this thing's coming out. All proceeds, again, this ministry, this nonprofit ministry, does not take a nickel. Trust me, and I don't, and I won't if all possible. If God continues to bless us, and I'm able to give this much time, this much effort, and it is expensive. Everything wants a subscription nowadays, and it's expensive to run this little ministry here with video and editing and stuff, and it takes half a day to a day sometimes on one video, or if I'm lucky, I can get two videos in, and it just takes so much time. And then the time, here's the other thing, and you can notice on this, you'll notice the Riverside that I'm actually using here for software is pushing out a live to many of the different social media, and that's not half of all the ones that'll get this video. There'll be more that I'll push out. The problem is uploading to these different sites. Rumble, horrible. Now you're going to say, well, you're okay, it's going to take a while, it takes more data, I get it. But explain to me why Twitter and TikTok can take the same video, zip, and be done. I'll tell you why. It's because they've invested in their server capabilities and their size, or call it a pipe. The pipe is bigger there or something because they're able to pull that and boom, it's up. So they do a really good job. Facebook, third. Amazon, a little late in there. Locals is another one I'm on. That one's very, very slow. But there's just a lot. There's another. Well, anyways, if you're on those, you'll know. My intent is to get the message out. What is the message? Let's just be clear. What is the message? The message is love God with all your heart, with every inch of your body, and then love your neighbor like you love yourself, and proclaim the gospel to the other ends of the earth. That is what I'm trying to do. People viewed the channel last year. We're over 20,000 people on YouTube and growing. Praise God. I'm not doing anything but putting content out. That's it. I'm putting this information out, and I'm putting it on the social media, and then there's different things and other things that I'm working to do too. So it's just a lot of work. I could literally do this full time. Between the counseling, the meetings, helping people with, I just wrote when you write 140 some odd $1 million, words, 140 million words, and I just wrote a 20-page paper for my CPE final, just because you're used to writing. So it's not that bad. So I wrote a 20-page, and I'm working on the final presentation, and then that'll be for my CPE Unit 5, and then I have the packet ready to go for board certification to the charter, and then, it's like anything else, and you have to pay for it and pay for the credential. People say, why do you pay for all these things? Why do you do all these things? Because if I am, from a secular standpoint, remember my PhD, if I can be credentialed and viewed in the secular as well as the Christian circles of credibility and have that credit, I'm able to reach people in different places. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're a Christian, you're like, well, you don't need any of that. You just need the Bible. Correct. If you're a secular person, no, you need a science, or you need this, or you need that. You need to go through this. And it's all money. Think of Ellie Boy Ellis West. He's all about money. And my dad would say the same thing. He'd say, everybody's got their hand in your pocket, son. And what's frustrating is watching the pricing, and everything is just going to these subscriptions. Everything from you're going to see it if not already there. The TV, you're not going to have free TV, unless you have a antenna or something like that. But anyways, it's just frustrating. So anyways, I'm just here to let you know real quick. 28 minutes later, I'm going to get off here, but I just wanted to share real quick just a little bit about what that is, and that comes out is, again, you will be totally underwhelmed. Some highlights in those chapters and some things that may be a blessing, maybe not. Feel free to ask me a question or tell me it's bad. It's okay too. I'm okay with that. And openness and honestness. So I appreciate it. So with that being said, I wish you the best. And if you need anything, please let me know. Chaplain Dean Alley out.